where the new owner is finding treasures behind the walls and under the floors.
With a hop and a shimmy, Thad Krasnowski embarked on his latest hunt for hidden treasure.
Have you ever stumbled on an ancient item that cost millions of dollars? There are hidden fortunes and treasures all over the world. From ordinary blankets to jewelry, vintage cars, and toys, these rare gems, oftentimes insignificant, are worth millions of dollars. Come with me as I unravel 20 fortunes and treasures found in abandoned places. Number 20. A stash of cash in a bag. A man who loved taking pictures of abandoned buildings because of their pristine beauty made a huge discovery. When he entered an abandoned house, he only took pictures to avoid issues with the owners and left his footprint behind. On a fateful day, he entered an abandoned mansion in Canada and started exploring the building. Everything in there tried to preserve the memories of the family that had lived there. He saw several antiques, such as a typewriter, a sewing machine, a radio, a piano, and a record player. Aside from these, he discovered some personal items like letters, books, and more. This gave him an overview of the family that lived in the now Gothic home. But he was yet to see the strangest thing in the building. He kept exploring the home until he hit a home hardware bag. He opened the door and was shocked to find a staggering $6,800 in cash. Everything was neatly wrapped. Instead of keeping the money to himself, he did all he could to find the owners. Unfortunately, the original owner had died, but then she left the building to her 3 children, who now live far away. Eventually, the photographer met one of them. He recounted who he was and what he had found in the home. The owner's child was first annoyed until the photographer said he didn't take anything from the house but pictures. The owner's child eventually succumbed and even gave him a house tour. When the photographer saw that the owner's child was now at peace, he told the individual about the money and returned it to her. She was grateful for his honesty and generosity. Number 19. 600 gold coins found in an abandoned house. During the demolition of an abandoned house in Brittany, France, construction workers found 600 gold coins in the cellar. They discovered after locating a mysterious shell-shaped container. These Belgian coins dated back to 1870 and featured the image of Leopold II, the then reigning king of Belgium. The coins were estimated to be worth £100,000. They were kept and secured for investigation. The construction workers didn't take ownership of it because in 2014, 3 construction workers found 6 gold bars and 600 gold coins dating back to 1924 and 1927. The men decided to keep the treasure. However, the authorities caught them when one of them deposited high-value checks. These men went to court for stealing. This only means one thing. Whatever you find in the woods or an abandoned house doesn't belong to you. You have to follow the due process of the law. Number 18. An inherited house turned into a gold mine. A Frenchman inherited a home from a family member in Normandy who had passed away. Since he had just moved in, he decided to check the house. Fortunately for him, he found a large amount of gold coins and bars. When estimated, the treasure was worth $3.7 million. The gold bars weighed 100 kilograms in total. But these treasures were not found in one location. The man found some underneath furniture, piles of linen, and even in the bathroom. The gold consists of 5,000 pieces, 2 bars of 12 kilos, and 37 ingots of 1 kilo. After discovering the certificate of ownership, he learned that the gold was purchased in the 1950s and 1960s. However, we can't ascertain if the Frenchman benefited from the wealth. That's because the tax might take a significant portion of it. In France, an inheritance tax goes along with gifts and inheritances. The tax rate depends on how much money you receive and your relationship with the giver. For the gold and the property, the new owner might have to pay 45% inheritance tax and property tax, which might amount to 60% if the owner had not declared it before his death. So it might not be a fortune after all. Number 17. A fleet of Thunderbirds. Thunderbird classic or vintage vehicles are hard to come by because of their high price. An unidentified family revealed a secret vehicle collection in Michigan after it had lain undiscovered for around 30 years. The discovery of a fleet of 28 Thunderbirds worth over $27,000 would astound that family. The auctioneers met with the family at a cafe off-site. The family later escorted them to this location. A rare 1932 Ford Model B and a 1987 Chevy Silverado pickup were among the several vintage cars on display at the House of the Vehicles. The cars would then be auctioned in 2016 for an estimated auction price of $300,000. The CEO of RepoCast.com, Scott Medema, claims that because many automobiles were extremely rare, the location of the cars looked like something from a reality television program like American Pickers or Hoarders. He would subsequently transport each vehicle to his Wayland showroom, where a public auction would occur. The collection's 1956 Ford Thunderbird, which was to be transported to the yard after a collision, sold for more than $5,000. The car is back in working order and on the road, but it may have formerly belonged to a Hollywood star. Number 16. Nostalgia Trip. A certain freaktography decided to explore a dilapidated home that had been abandoned for years. And fortunately for him, the house boasts diverse treasures from the past. One of the things he found was a Polaroid camera of the 1970s and 80s. Another treasure that he found was a toy motorcycle that looked like a tricycle. The word Chips written on it ushers in memories of a popular television show called Chips. This show featured two police officers from the California Highway Patrol on motorcycles who solved crimes. The logo brings back childhood memories, but that was not all. He also saw some dolls of Barbie and her friends. These dolls' clothing was decades old. For instance, Barbie wore a 1950 dress, while another doll wore a 1970 dress. After these, Freaktography unearthed a projector and a record player for kids. He also found plastic toys featuring E.T. Yoda and other Star Wars characters. This replays memories of classic movies in the past. These treasures that awaken nostalgia may not fetch dollars, but you can't do without relishing the emotions that they bring. Number 15. 1800s blanket worth millions. Lauren Kritzer, a man from California, stumbled upon a family relic that was far more valuable than he'd anticipated. Having lost his leg in a vehicle accident in 2007, Lauren was living off disability checks that only paid out $200. However, good fortune smiled upon him when he noticed a blanket at an antiques roadshow. He realized then that he had a blanket just like it in his closet, which would be worth $500,000. The blanket was a Navajo blanket from the 1800s that belonged to his grandma. He took the blanket out of the closet and told his mother he would like to sell it and make some quick cash since it had been used to catch newborn kittens following their delivery. Who would have imagined a blanket with such minimal value could command such a high price? That blanket would not even fetch $10 from anyone. His mother had speculated, but to everyone's amazement, 6 months after selling it in California, he received a staggering $1.5 million. He claimed the auction had given him a fresh start in life. Now that he has invested a portion of the blanket money in stocks and bonds, bought a car, and bought 2 homes, the money should naturally last him for a good amount of time. Number 14. Diamonds, gold, and silver coins. A construction worker discovered something metallic in 1988 when renovating an abandoned telephone exchange in the Polish town of Schroeder Szlaska. At first he believed he had struck some milk bottle caps. Little did he know that what he would discover would be a millennium of riches. When he flipped the metal stuff over with his spade, he found a treasure trove of priceless diamonds, gold, and silver coins. The estimated value of the treasure from the 14th century was $6.9 million, including a golden crown and more than 4,000 gold pieces struck in Prague and other locations. Each member of the public tried to grab as many of the dispersed coins as they could, but in an attempt to safeguard the find, police would react quickly, resulting in numerous coins found during a house-to-house search. Before the search, the government had attempted to buy the treasure from the owners and had dispatched an archaeologist to find the source of the coins. Aside from the gold coins, other items had also been unearthed from the basement. Additional unique pieces were pendants and brooches. The treasure's most notable discovery was the gold crown, which enabled historians to date its discovery to the 1340s. The treasure was once owned by the House of Luxembourg's Emperor Charles IV, who had pawned off several goods to a Jewish banker in Schroeder. Sadly, the banker vanished, and then the disease struck. The treasure was concealed for hundreds of years before being found again, and although the story seems unbelievable, it happened. Number 13, 170-year-old ring. Do you have a phobia for attics? After listening to what a woman found in an old attic, I am sure you won't anymore. She was assigned to clean her late father-in-law's mansion when she found a metal box in the attic, but the box was useless without the keys, so she decided to search for that. After seeing the matching key, she found a ring inside the box. The ring had an inscription that aroused the woman's curiosity. She then consulted a jewelry expert named Jeffrey. Jeff confirmed the ring as genuine. Guess what? The ring turned out to be worth more than $26,000 due to the inscription on it. This inscription dates back to March 1855, but that's not the end of the story. The woman also discovered a secret compartment inside the ring containing a small hair braid. This might look bizarre today, but it wasn't in the past. People practiced this in the 19th century to remember their deceased loved ones. The woman believed the hair and ring belonged to Charlotte Brontë, one of England's most celebrated poets and novelists. Therefore, this ring offered a glimpse into an iconic figure who had lived more than 170 years ago. This seemingly insignificant item held much value and historical significance. Are you still scared of attics? I bet you are not. Something huge might just be waiting for you there. Number 12. Martha Deflorian portrait. An excavator discovered an apartment in Paris that had been untouched for 70 years. The owner had fled to the south of France before World War II and never came back, leaving the apartment without an occupant. When a team arrived to search the apartment, they found a treasure trove of tons of century objects hidden beneath a layer of thick dust. They also found a portrait of a lady in a pink dress. They analyzed the artwork and discovered it was the work of 19th century Italian artist Giovanni Boldini. The lady in the portrait happened to be an actress named Martha Deflorian, whom he painted wearing a pink muslin evening dress. The 1898 painting showed Martha at the age of 24. Amazingly, the owner of the apartment happened to be Deflorian's granddaughter. Martha was a popular actress. She had many admirers, including the Prime Minister of France at the time. A painting of hers sold at auction for a mouth-watering $3.4 million, making it one of the most expensive paintings by Boldini. Number 11. A house full of treasure. After buying the contents of a house, Alex Archbold, the proprietor of an antique shop in Canada, was startled to see that it was filled with valuables. Alex had purchased the belongings of a deceased piano teacher's house for a mere $10,000. Alex never did the normal thing, which would have been to check the house before making the payment. He had no notion what the property's contents held for him. He was startled to see that the inside of the house was packed with numerous treasures well beyond his imagination. He had assumed the house would be a great excursion for his YouTube channel, but he soon discovered that the house included more silver dollars from the 1920s, a 100-ounce silver bar, fashionable clothes from Chanel Burberry, and some antique gold and diamond rings. He later said it was his best investment after documenting the house's treasures and estimating its approximate value to be well over $400,000. Before buying this particular house, he frequently purchases the contents of abandoned homes to share discoveries on YouTube. He was intrigued by the large piano inside the house and had not been expecting much, as he had been informed that the piano instructor made a small living. He had no idea she was a millionaire who had worn modest clothing. Number 10. A wad of World War II bills. Who would believe that remnants of World War II can still surface today? Well, it did surface, but how? The store needed a facelift, so during renovation, shop fitter Russ Davis ripped up rotten carpeting, flooring, and tiles. Pulling away the wilted floorboards, he stumbled on a thick stump coated in dirt and grime. He thought it was a block of wood, but when he opened it, he discovered it contained £1 notes. They were all stuck together so much that he couldn't separate them. After counting them, they discovered that they were roughly 30 wads of £5 and £1 notes totaling £130,000, or over $2 million in today's US dollars. This was enough to buy you a 2-bedroom condo in New York City, 18,000 square foot 6-bedroom home in Fargo, North Dakota. The distinct cerulean color of the notes indicated that these clumpy pieces of paper were currency issued by the Bank of England during World War II. The store handed over the notes to the Sussex police. However, how they got there was intriguing. According to CNN, from 1936 to 1973, before Cotswold Outdoor occupied its current space, the location was a Bradley's Gowns shop. This was a high-end fur and couture designer store with multiple outlets in and outside London. Notable figures like Clementine, Winston Churchill, and the royal family frequented the shop for its customized tailor services. So, why did they push money underneath the store? The Nazi incursion during World War II had the Jewish owners of the high-end English gown shop worried. To ensure their family had the means to flee if the German forces marched into England, brothers Eric and Victor Bradley stashed 30 wads of Euro 5 and Euro 1 notes, totaling 130,000 euros, underneath their shop. Number 9. A 1987 classic video game. At times, it's necessary to organize your attic. The stress can be worthwhile. Scott Amos of California made the same move that ultimately led to a remarkable and transformative discovery for him. In 2019, while organizing the attic of his boyhood house, Scott discovered an unopened copy of the 1987 classic video game, Kid Icarus. About 15 years had passed since his mother had called to urge him to pick up a few boxes full of childhood mementos, and when he did, he was surprised to find the Nintendo game still in the 3-decade-old J.C. Penney shopping bag. Given that the receipt's date was December 8, 1988, it's possible that the item was an undeliverable Christmas gift. Each member of the family developed a separate theory. When it ended up in the attic in 1987, his mother didn't take it out since she believed she had placed it there. The game costs $38 at retail, or around $80 in modern currency. Scott found the game and put it on his kitchen counter, intending to contact specialists to determine its future. Ultimately, something he had assumed would not fetch more than a few $100s went for $9,000 at an online Heritage Auctions comic book and comic art auction. According to Heritage, there are no more than 10 known sealed copies of Kid Icarus. Scott's discovery is noteworthy. This is his best-performing eBay transaction, surpassing the $200 he made from a collection of Star Wars action figures. Number 8. A vintage Babe Ruth card. A young lady named Ellen Kelly was never allowed to play her Aunt Nora's piano. But when the family heirloom came up in a 1992 family estate sale, Kelly bought the same piano for $25. Now she can play. However, the piano refused to make audible sounds. She was not able to solve the riddle until after 25 years. She discovered that the piano had always sounded weird because 110 vintage baseball cards, including a Babe Ruth rookie card, had been hidden inside it. Kelly, who lives in Western Maryland, may never have found the cards if she had only used the piano for decoration. Back in 1992, eager to learn how to play the instrument, she sat down and found it out of tune and with a stuck pedal. She recruited a friend to help her fix it, and together, they found the unexpected. The massive stash of cards that could have been clogging up the piano for close to 80 years. These might have found their way there because Auntie Nora's brothers likely kept them there decades ago. After keeping her discovery for the next 20 years, Kelly auctioned the cards in 2019. She sold the Babe Ruth rookie for a smashing sum of $130,000. Number 7. A stack of ancient coins. A village near Johnston, Pennsylvania, witnessed history as astounding stacks of ancient coins were discovered. An abandoned home yielded an estimated $200,000 in treasure. Jeff Beidelman, the owner of the rare collectibles and all-around lucky soul, is the show's star. One day, as he walked down the stairs, he saw something strange, a hole in an upper-floor wall, while helping the family clear out their abandoned home, which had been unoccupied for 2 solid decades. The hole's siren call was too strong for Beidelman to ignore, so he tore down the first-floor wall beneath it to unveil a mountain of money lurking in the shadows. Who knows how long this will last? When Beidelman went through the coins, he found ones from 1973. Several specimens of these coins, valued at approximately $8,500 apiece, are up for sale online. Beidelman projects that the collection might sell for up to $200,000, a significant amount above the original asking price of $100,000. This rundown house had a wealth of treasures. Number 6. A pair of brown Superior motorbikes tucked away among old barns in the heart of the United Kingdom lies an astounding treasure. A pair of uncommon brown Superior motorbikes forgotten by time appear out of the shadows. These vintage motorcycles are famous speed demons, not just any old machines. Even though these 8 motorcycles from the venerable Brow Superior brand are a little beat up, they have much historical value that a Brow Superior club member in the 1960s amassed. Bodmin Moor, a Cornish village, had these bikes stored in barns. This dash was a true find. Only a selected few knew it. Indeed, for 50 years, these magnificent treasures have been encircled by trash. A 1938 750cc BSA might be yours for a cool $118,400 to $177,600, and those SS80 cycles and parts are exciting in and of themselves. You might find a good deal with estimates between $8,900 and $11,800 per one. Very amazing, huh? For a dusty old barn find, not bad at all. Number 5. A secret cache of vintage vehicles. In his grandfather's garage, a financially struggling student discovered more than just sentimental recollections. He discovered a secret cache of vintage vehicles that would make any enthusiast dizzy. A silver 1981 Lamborghini Countach and a bright red Ferrari 308 were among the clutter and neglected objects. These were no ordinary cars, rather they were 1980s icons. Car lovers may recognize the Lamborghini Countach as akin to the one Leonardo DiCaprio drove in The Wolf of Wall Street and the combined value. These opulent cars are astonishingly expensive, a whopping $430,000 each year. So buckle up. The student who discovered this gold mine was compelled to post about the astounding discovery on Reddit. Undoubtedly, buried treasure is real, and it's out there somewhere just waiting to be found. The only thing we're missing is a treasure map. However, it's something anyone can find. Number 4. A 1972 DBS. An old decaying relic and an Aston Martin DBS were recently auctioned off for more than £43,000, showcasing the allure of vintage vehicles. The 1972 DBS, a true time capsule, had been neglected in a barn for over 3 decades, making it a remarkable find. Rich in history, this iconic car's journey traces back to 1975, when an Aston Martin enthusiast acquired it from a dealer in Thames Deaton, Surrey. The fact that such a stunning piece of automotive history was left to languish in a farmyard adds to its mystique and intrigue. Number 3. A Nazi Enigma machine was found at the bottom of a bay. In November 2020, a marine biologist, Michael Boit, was having a routine dive in the Baltic Sea when he noticed something odd on the seabed. First, it appeared to be an old typewriter, but on a closer look, Michael discovered that he had just found a World War II Nazi Enigma machine. It was likely one of the hundreds thrown overboard in the waning days of the German war effort. After cleaning and refurbishing it, the waterlogged machine appeared at the Archaeological Museum in Schleswig, Germany. The machine was a clever bit of machinery invented at the end of the First World War by Arthur Scherbius and repurposed for the Nazis for wartime use. You might be wondering what the Nazis used it for. When they needed to send confidential messages, they entered the dispatches into the machine, substituting every letter with a system of 3 or 4 rotors and a reflector, encrypting the message for a recipient Enigma machine to decode. The Enigma vexed Allied forces until Alan Turing's cryptanalyst team at Bletchley Park developed the bomb code-breaking machine. Based on the previous work of Polish cryptographers, the bomb greatly expedited the rate of Enigma decryptions, easing the war effort for the Allies. Irrespective of its use in the past, it's great to discover such a wonderful piece. Number 2. A treasure trove in a French candy shop. Around 1300, a young lady named Ankh lived in northeastern France. She was Jewish and married. However, on a fateful day, she decided to bid her wedding ring, 13 gold rings, and 384 silver coins behind a wall. The treasure was accidentally discovered in 1863 when a handyman found a terracotta pot behind the wall of a confectionery in Colmar, France. Thus, this treasure had spent 500 years behind the wall. Today, the rings and other artifacts in the container provide clues about Jewish life in medieval France. If you want to see these rings, they are on display at the Met Cloisters in New York City, on loan from Paris's Musée de Cluny. One artifact in particular, a ceremonial wedding ring, gives art historians insight into who owned the treasure chest and why it was concealed. Made of gold and decorated with colored enamel, the wedding ring is the most ornate and skillfully constructed piece in the collection. Surprisingly, everything was still in perfect condition. Would you consider preserving your wedding ring behind a wall? Number 1. Inherited supercar collection. A woman was lucky to inherit her grandma's garage. All she was expecting was an empty garage or probably a few damaged cars. But after unlocking the garage, she was surprised to find 2 dazzling supercars covered in dust and rust. The first vehicle was a costly Lamborghini Countach, a classical Italian supercar. Was that all? No. A Ferrari 308 was also hiding beside the Lamborghini Countach. She never knew that her grandma had a secret passion for these types of vehicles. So, finding these unique cars was a revelation. and you can call it a fortune. No one in the family knew about the hidden treasures because the garage had not been opened since the 1980s. The vehicles had been there the whole time, waiting for the camera's lens. It's good to know that these vehicles are not only common and precious, they are historically and culturally significant. The Lamborghini was manufactured in limited quantities between 1974 and 1990. Only around 2,000 were built. The Ferrari 308 had almost the same history. It was an iconic sports car that appeared in numerous television shows and films. Which of these riches that have been uncovered is your favorite? Have you ever come across a valuable find of your own? Share with us in the comments section below. While you're still here, check out the other videos you see on your screen.